What's going on, everybody? Loris here, founder of Carrier Intelligence, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the best practices for creating a driver retention plan. Now, these methods work for all size carriers, all modes of transportation. The important thing is developing an SOP, or standard operating procedure, for drivers after they've already come aboard, because this is where we see a lot of companies go wrong. They spend a ton of money, effort, and resources on getting those drivers in, but they typically fall a little short when they actually try to retain and keep those drivers, okay? So this is not a one-size-fits-all, you must do this and only this. This is a basic SOP that if any carrier were to implement this into their retention plan, you will have a lot better results. And we've seen this happen again and again with carriers across the board, again, all different modes of transportation, all different fleet sizes. And it really begins at the beginning. So we think about travel arrangements. So you've already talked to the driver, he's come through your ATS, he or she is now getting ready to come to your company to go through orientation. Well, travel arrangements are very important. We don't think about it often, but you gotta figure if a driver is going to be coming to your company, to start orientation, typically they are already going to be working at another company, right? They're going to quit today, join your company tomorrow. So usually what happens is these drivers are going to be coming from their truck, right? They're usually going to be coming out of their truck, hopping on a bus, for example, to your company. And that is something really important to take into account, because we do know most carriers will pay for transportation in one shape or form. Usually it's going to be bus tickets, right? If they are fairly close by, otherwise airplane tickets. But you want to make sure to have a nice plan in place for those travel arrangements, because again, those drivers, they're really bringing their life with them from their previous truck to your company. So it doesn't stop only at the bus or airplane. It is a very advantageous suggestion to go ahead and arrange that travel from the bus station or the airport to your actual facilities. Now, do you have to have somebody on call 24/7 to go pick these people up? No, of course not. But you need to make sure to plan the actual arriving to your facilities of the driver. Not only here's your bus ticket, here's your airplane ticket, come on over. We want to make sure to help them get there. Remember, these are the first initial moments of being associated with your company, so you want to really treat those initial seconds as best as you can and start it off on the right foot. From there, orientation. Now, every company's gonna have a different orientation schedule. Maybe you have 1 per week, 2 per week, 3 per week. It doesn't matter. You have orientation. You want to make sure that that orientation is built out properly, that we can get drivers on the road as soon as possible to make money like they want to do, but also to give enough time to make sure those drivers understand everything completely. We've seen companies operate a 2 or 3 orientation schedule per week quite successfully. It could be Monday, Tuesday is orientation, Wednesday's a half day, Wednesday the new class comes in, Thursday, Friday. That's how you can fit in a 3-day into a 3-day, 2 times a week into a weekly orientation schedule. However, just be cognizant of that kind of time capacity and what you're trying to cram into these drivers in such a short period of time. A big thing. Now, money isn't everything, but money definitely is something. It is adamant that during orientation and post-orientation, you explain the pay. 100%. Now, these drivers should already have an idea of what they're walking into. Most likely these conversations have been covered, prior to the driver coming on board. But we see a lot of carriers lose drivers very early on because the driver did not actually know what they're getting, right? And that may be silly to think, but it's the truth. It is worth spending 5-10 minutes extra with each driver, sitting down, showing them their pay so they know what they're getting into. Because obviously you have salary pay, you have rate per mile pay, you have owner-operators, you have percentage-based pay. You have all these different things, and your company may operate multiple different pay structures, regional versus local versus OTR. And when these drivers are in that driver's lounge together, well, you may have a regional driver that's getting paid this many cents per mile, talking to a local driver who's getting paid a few cents less. The local driver gets ticked off. Reality is they're quite different jobs, and it is worth the time to educate and explain that pay to each driver. It'll save you a bunch of headaches later on. Next thing, situating the truck. What do I mean by that? Well, usually what happens is drivers will finish their orientation and it's kind of get out, right? Like get on the road, start running miles. You got to think about it. It goes back to the original point. These drivers came from a previous company with all their belongings. Maybe they haven't had a chance to take a shower yet by the time they get there. And now you're going to shove them through a 2 or 3 day orientation and then put them in the truck and go run your miles. Well, it is advantageous to give the drivers an evening to go ahead and situate their truck, get themselves ready for the next day, right? After orientation's finished, let's say finish at 4 p.m., let those drivers have the night to get everything organized, set up their truck, their kind of mobile home, how they want to have it, and then have loads ready to go the following morning. And nice thing about this as well, when you give that time to situate the truck, they're going to check blinkers, they're going to check all those things, and those small little issues, even if you have an on-site, maintenance facility, little things will come up. And it's nice to be able to fix those, kind of nip them in the butt early on, and not have to address them when the driver's already hundreds or thousands of miles away. So give the chance to drivers to look through the truck. Hey guys, get yourself situated, check everything out, let us know if there's any problems. We want to get this fixed for you so you guys can get on the road tomorrow, you're happy, and start clocking those miles and making money. Next thing, dispatch intro. Obviously, drivers are going to be spending a lot of time talking with their dispatcher, right? It doesn't matter if you have one dispatcher per couple drivers or one dispatcher operates dozens of drivers. Have them get a chance to meet. If possible in person, that's fantastic. Nothing beats the human connection, meeting somebody face to face, shaking their hand. Hey John, I'm your dispatcher, Terry. Good to meet you. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm always here for you. I'll be giving you a call. Remember, if I miss my call, I'll always call you back quickly, yada yada. You get the chance for them to put a face to the name rather than just, whenever the dispatcher calls, hey, what's your truck number, etc. Right? Make them introduce each other. That is very, very valuable. Not enough companies do this. Now we're going to move in to after the drivers have already been working with you, okay? You got to think those first 90 days are so critical, right? If you can keep a driver for 90 days, well, good chance you can keep them for 180 days. Good chance you can keep them for a year. Once they're with you for a year, they're probably going to be with you for years to come. So those first 90 days are very critical. So let's back up a step and reverse engineer it. If those first 90 days are so important, well, it begs the question if the first 30 days are important, and they absolutely are. And that's where these monthly checkups come in. Once a month, especially early on. You can maybe readdress this 3 months, 6 months in, but for the first 3 months, have a quick monthly checkup. This isn't just your dispatcher calling the driver to ask how are things, how did you feel over the last month? This is an opportunity for the upper management at your company, the dispatcher, the safety director, the vice president of recruiting, director of recruiting, the owner, as many people as you can. Try to pull them in the room. Pull that driver into the room and say, hey, let's chat for 10, 15 minutes. Go through everything. It's going to break down that barrier that so many trucking companies have up of us versus them. And it's going to show that you care. And this is the thing. Most trucking companies say they care. They say, well, we treat drivers like a name, not a number. We actually care about our drivers. We have an open door policy. And while all that may be true, they fall short on this every single time. Have a monthly checkup at a minimum. And when I say this monthly checkup, this is the whole team, the owner, all the way down to the dispatcher, in a room together, talking with this driver, 10, 15 minutes. You can do it in a different way if you like. You're going to bring your whole class in, you buy them lunch, you have an hour group session with all the new drivers. It's worth it. It is worth it. It is so much work to go out and find a new driver than it is to retain a driver, yet most companies fall so short on retention. And final piece of this is recognize. Recognition goes a very, very long way. People like to feel good. People like to be appreciated. Drivers do as well. Recognize those small wins. If a new driver or a seasoned driver has had a fantastic on-time delivery rate, extremely safe, months of service, years of service, recognize those small wins because it's going to make them feel proud to be a part of your organization. And that camaraderie is what makes drivers stay with a company not for days or weeks, but for years and years, okay? So hopefully that is valuable. Again, you don't have to get all this implemented instantly, but if you can start whittling away at this, over time, you're gonna see a massive improvement in your retention rate.